over 40, living in California, debt-free, no kids.
So y'all know in the last video we talked about how we came to California and we've been living here for since 2016, and we have no kids, and we did it as a faith move. Now we want to talk about if we left from Georgia to California today, would we have done anything differently? And we were having this conversation just a little earlier, and we have some different opinions on that. I said if this was 2016 and I could do it all over again, I would have saved more money, prepared just a little bit longer, and I would have wanted us to move in our space with just us. You say it differently.
Yeah, I feel like if it had been a well thought out, prepared trip, some of the experiences that we had, I don't think we would have had. Some of the excitement, some of the learning lessons, some of moving from LA to the city that we're in now, I just think it would have all been different. We wouldn't have gotten the LA experience, because still living in LA is different, unlike any other, place. And I feel like if it had been, you want to prepare to a degree, but I feel like if we had really prepared and tried to wait for that perfect moment, would it have ever happened? Things would have kept coming up. Then you would have been talking to people. Then you wouldn't be able to hold it, because we didn't tell anybody about this. I mentioned it to my brother who lives out here. He didn't even take us seriously. We told no one. We prayed, we fasted, and then all the situations and circumstances that happened turned out to be for our benefit. And then we said, okay, our lease is up. We weren't renewing the lease in the apartment. We were like, oh, after this 7 months, we out, regardless of how much we have saved, regardless of what we're doing it. And I think, to me, that's still the best mindset. Plus, we didn't have no kids, so we didn't have to worry about preparation, looking for schools, having this certain thing amount and worrying about the kid. My thing is, if a person has kids, your kids are going to adapt and adjust with you regardless of the age. You go, they're going to go with you. So even if we had kids, that would have been my mindset around that. But because we didn't, it made it even more smooth to me. Yeah. Being at home, start talking, then you start second guessing yourself. You start thinking about all the things, how you want it to be perfect. I just don't think it would have happened. Then talking to your mom and, my mom and dad, it would have been like, oh, well, good dream with that.
Now, if we would have
good luck with that.
I believe if we had a baby, I don't think we would have made the move. I don't think it would have happened. It just depends on how big the dream would be for a person to think further than I was thinking. The dream would have had to been bigger, and the vision had to been even bigger for me to take a baby that this other person that we have to take care of and relocate them to a foreign space with limited amount of money. Because when I say limited amount of money, we had God blessed us with $5,000 that we didn't know how we were going to expect, and that's what we moved with. So we only had 2 months to figure it out. And to do that,
situation, go ahead.
And to do that, I would not have done it with a kid out of fear and comfort. So it was not, you had to have a bigger driving force to be able to do that on how we did it, because I wouldn't have did it without kids on that little bit amount of money.
And I was going to say too, is people do it all the time with a kid, without a kid. I think, and I've just heard different stories, across platforms of how people have just moved with this amount and just left everything behind and did this. Now, there were certain things that we knew we weren't going to do, which was sleep out of our car and be homeless. We already knew that wasn't going to be our choice when we left there coming here. That wasn't for us. People may have done it and still do it, but that's not how we were going to do this thing.
You got wet wipes you hitting there?
No.
And the wet wipes in the car?
But I will say, I think if we had a kid, it would have slowed us down. My parents, that would have been, my child, and, I'm really close to my parents, pretty much always have been, and it would have been a lot harder for me to want to move without that support system. And then he's more comfort security.
Yes, I am.
I'm more of a risk taker.
Yes.
And willing to be like, okay, we got this. We're going to mash it out and we're going to make this thing happen. And that's what we did. However, the $5,000 we got blessed with, technically, that's when we said, okay, we're going to pray and fast. And how the scene turns out, then next thing you know, my car got stole. At the job that I was working with across from the police station. Where that happened. But anyway, that still turned out for our good, because that was like, okay, well, here we go. 5 bands, let's do it. And the original reason we wanted to come out here was because I was looking at PhD programs. So we had a purpose, we had a reason. Plus, he always wanted to live in California. So when I was looking for programs for a PhD, I was like, you know what? Because we were looking in the southern states. We went to visit certain places that were surrounding states of Georgia. And I was like, this is just not my vibe. I ain't feeling this. And then a light bulb went off. And then that's how that preparation started. But financially prepared, I don't feel like, say we had, $20,000 or $10,000 saved.
That made it way sweeter.
Of course it would have, but man, please, when we first get out here to California, it was like living a dream. It felt like the movies. Then $20,000 and $10,000 would have been gone.
So imagine this with a baby. And I know people do it, but I don't recommend something going... with people with no kids, buck. We could right now, if we wanted to buck and go to Abu Dhabi or to live in Dubai, I feel like we would make it. But when you have another person that has needs, they need healthcare, they need daycare, you have to plan for that. I feel like people that just makes that on faith, I don't think that's wise without a big cushion
or some type of support system. If you have family members out here, that could go over well, but just for us,
and if you do have family members, do they share the same faith values? Do they share the same lifestyle? A lot of stuff you have to take into account when you got a baby.
I think too, just still bringing it back full circle, is that the way we did it to me was absolutely perfect, meaning it didn't require, we didn't know. We didn't have much plans. My brother, I told him, and then when he looked and saw our apartment with all the furniture just about gone, that's when he knew we were serious.
We had to help him move out of his place. This how you know it wasn't. He didn't take us serious until he literally saw the daggone cars loaded on the truck. Because the reason when we got there, we had to help him move out of his place with the movers until the apartment that we all moved to. So he didn't even take it serious until the last moment anyway.
I mean, which you can't really blame a person, because you're getting ready to say, okay, I'm going to get this apartment. I'm going to do this 2-bedroom apartment. And they don't move. And now you done changed your whole situation, and the person has changed their mind and has reneged. So I completely get it. But I honestly feel like, especially not having no kids, beyond the sky is the limit. What you were not going to do, which was we knew we weren't going to be homeless. So and it's a sacrifice. It's all about sacrifice. If you want to have and live your life a certain way, you want to pursue a dream, you want to take this big chance in, a new job, relocating, meeting new people, doing new adventures. You have to be willing to take a risk. I'm the risk taker.
For us, if we had a little baby, we would have had to have 20,000 with a baby.
20,000?
20,000. We had 5,000. We need 15 more thousand just to make sure in the insurance and protection of this baby. Just in case, what if it didn't work out? You still got to get an airplane and get back home. Who want a Greyhound all the way back?
And see,
you need to have it all.
That's the thing. That's the mindset of when you want to make that move, you don't have in your back of your mind, what if it don't work out? You have the mindset of doing everything necessary legally within your means to make it happen so you don't go back. That's the mindset of a person who wants to really leave their home and go somewhere and pursue something new and something different, especially you don't have no kids. So talking with the fact of it was perfect. I would not have wanted to plan it out, because even now in the conversation you're saying all the things that you would have thought about, done different, and I just don't think the move would have taken place. Because then when you start telling people about what you're going to do, because the longer you wait and delay, you're going to start opening your mouth and start running it, and then you're going to have all these people coming in your ear who don't see the vision and could have gotten you sidetracked. So I think I would not have changed.
I think
anything.
I would have done it with if we could redo it, $5,000 more. $5,000 more. I would need to feel a little bit more cushion, because let me tell you something. When we got to California, that 5,000. So you got to think, you got 5,000. Airplane. First month you putting in, because we call sharing. You really only got about 3. We were splitting the rent about $1,200 between our side and my brother-in-law's side. So you really got about a month and a half. So you got a month to really do it, but you got just about a little bit left to be able to make it. And I told her, there was 2 things I was trying to do before I get here. I said, I'm going to the military as soon as we get in, so I can lock in and you have some consistent money come in. Or I got to go into the school system, something that's a lot more comfortable, because I've worked and I've gotten tired. I've worked a lot and consistently, I've worked consistently, and I said I wanted a lot more relaxed environment on going into the service. Well, the service wasn't going to work out, because it would have left her in a situation without me bringing out any more income, while I would have went to basic training. And so that didn't work. But soon, let me tell you something. It's how God worked. I had applied for the gig. We got here in April or May. Well, the cars were here in April.
Yeah.
The cars got here later in April.
Yeah, we got here May 12th, 16th, right around that time.
May. UCLA called me in June. That was a blessing from God, because I only had so much we were going to be able to make it. And then you still think, once you get that call, you got to make it to that first check. So all that was all done out in faith. And with the child, I would have been. I'm a person more so that would go real negative and not be optimistic. I'm gonna get real pessimistic at this point and start telling about we're gonna end up having to go back to Atlanta. Joy is the opposite.
Yeah.
And so but you need 2 people that do difference in opinions, and that can bring in different thoughts, because you can have a person that's too optimistic and too let's go for the goal, but those people they have tents on the beach. They live on the beach because they didn't also have the grounded thinking level. They don't have to the moon.
Not me. I was that was something I refused. Look, if I had to go,
look, the sand, your tent is blowing with the ocean wind.
If I had to go and get a job, because I was doing multi-level marketing, so I was an entrepreneur vibe, and that's how I was, and still an entrepreneur. However, it's it's more solid income coming in from the businesses versus that multi-level marketing. I still feel like that is a great income if people do that, but you have got to work, you have got to grind, you have got to work that business. Anyway, it would have been cool to do that if you had your just a little caveat. I feel like if you have a network, let's say you worked in the school system and you were doing that would be all good. But if that's the only dependency, mentioned $0 is what that bronze is. And then, you need a network. You need a network. That's why it's called network marketing. But let's not go into that. You can make that. Yeah, I'm just saying. But I just wanted to say, it was to the mere fact of, I think it still worked out perfectly. Would I have changed anything? Absolutely not. And I think even if we had the extra 5,000 or 10,000, child, please, we still would have blew it. You know why? Because we were living life like it was golden. We was in the California dream. We was going to the beach. We was going eating our restaurants. My brother knew all the spots. He loves to socialize, but that's what he does in the entertainment. But so any place that was cool, calm. We were there.
In LA, 10 years ago, your dollar would go a little further 10 years ago than 10 years now. So what we were paying for rent then, that rent is probably $4,000 now.
Yeah.
What we're paying. So your dollar would spread a little. So that's why I'm saying, if it was us 10 years later with the $5,000 we came with, nah.
That's why it didn't happen that way. That's exactly why when you say you want to do something, you have the ideals, and you are child free, you can take risk. You can learn and bump your head and elbows along the way and try different things because
Yeah.
as two adults, if we got to eat noodles, beans, and eggs,
it would have been what it
frozen
was.
vegetables,
To make
ain't
sure
nothing
that
wrong with
rent was
frozen
paid.
vegetables. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what we did.
And I had brought that the Mustang was paid for. The truck had a payment, so I would
Yeah,
have.
but it was still low. It was like what, 2 something?
I was paying $383.
Oh, okay. But then, and that was also a thing when it comes to like having the mindset of budgeting and keep costs at a certain in a range. He's that person. He is that person. I have a budget, and I'll say I'm gonna stay in the budget, but he is the deal saver. He is the way, and that's good. So you need two people. You need one person in the marriage, in the relationship, that is going to be more practical about this is what we have and this is what we're going to be able to do.
And that was a good one that we could have. That was something that could have been a lot big savings. One car versus two, because you don't know if you don't already know what the game plan is. If you got to drive far, if it's right now you just in inner LA, this is for us. If we were just doing it again in inner LA, I would not have brought a truck.
Well, my brother told us.
Yeah,
he said y'all don't need that truck. He said because you're gonna be. He said you really don't need 2 cars, but that's how we shipped our stuff too. We packed all the stuff that we had. We sold what we could.
Think of probably one month of that payment would have been going into something else that would have been able to ship it out. So it wouldn't, or would have sold more.
Yeah.
Because now we have the mindset when we travel, we can offload the entire apartment. Except for valuable things that maybe family has given us, something that you cannot replace. Everything, your laptops and technology and some valuable heirloom, everything will be sold.
Yes, and
we let go of the mindset of need.
Gotta have this.
I don't have to have none of that.
Sell it, rebuy it. I mean, and that's one thing I can say I really am grateful for, and I've learned.
You want to buy this cell? You want this cell phone we on right now?
Over time is when you move and you think about minimalism and wanting to live in a small space with fewer things because you're traveling and you're moving and you want to be you don't really know which direction you're going to go in, then it becomes easier when you move to release things like, oh, okay, just buy
right now
again.
If an opportunity came up, if something that you do that we know was going to make us successful, but we had to make a big transition or we had to do something very uncomfortable, like doing that again, would I do it in a heartbeat? It'd be so easy. It'd be so easy for to know that we're going to progress in our life. Next transition, it's nothing now. But going from Atlanta to LA on faith makes it really easy to continue on faith. Yes, it makes it easier.
And I was going to say anyone can do it. However, people who are child free can take more risk, especially if you're on a budget and can do it. Yeah. It's really, I would not have changed things because I just feel like if we had had that extra 10 child, please, we would have found more places to eat out. We would have been back down to the fashion district. It was because that was where our mindset was then. And when you come to California, I don't care what nobody say, you see the palm trees, you see the mountain, you go to the beach. It's like, oh man, it's just, how you gonna take care of yourself though? How you gonna live that life?
So change things then? No. Change things now? I don't recommend it. Things are way more expensive unless you got a family member that you can stay with for free.
Okay.
That's the only way you're gonna be able to do it now. And these costs, it's different now.
Well, I mean, plan. I think planning, because we still somewhat planned, but we didn't have a stack of bread before we moved out here. So I think having a plan and already know what you're going to be willing and what you're not going to do. But I think sacrificing is what you have to be willing to do to make that move, even being without children.
Away from that. You're not going to be able to get around. I don't
even
care
being without a child.
You would have had the extra 10,020 because you could have had the extra 20 and didn't land a gig and you only got that 20. So you're not going to know until you try it. You have to be able to try it.
Yeah, and the more prepared you are, of course, the situation is going to be. You can definitely do it, and the more resources you have, it's going to make it even more smooth. But those people who want to take that jump, who want to take that leap without the resources, or have some resources but are afraid to do it, but you ain't got no kids, come up with a plan and run it.
And
don't tell nobody.
Oh,
tell nobody. Yeah, don't tell nobody.
You don't know who's speaking against you.
You and God had a conversation, and then you start making preparation and planning, and He's going to line up everything else.
And if you have a spouse, I believe that becomes, well, I guess it could be 20. If it was just you and you made that move, you only had to focus. But I think it's almost better when you have a spouse, because now you can a quality spouse. Let me get that correct. You got a quality spouse that y'all come together and make it work. I think that made it even easier because now you got two different mindsets going at it.
Yeah, same vision though. We had the same vision. But
everybody don't have that, which is okay. And there's so many people that have become super successful from stepping out their comfort zone and sacrificing.
So, for me, guys, I would not have changed a thing.
For me, then no. Today, yes, I would have changed it.